A quick shout out to John. John hired me at a bar in KL at 1:30 in the morning, 24 years ago. And unfortunately, I had too much to drink, so I only made about $200 a month when I first started, which has since changed. I just want to preface something from all our speakers. Richard had mentioned behavioral science, okay? Now, to understand behavioral science, it's really thinking about the way the consumer thinks, not the way marketers think, not the way researchers think. And this is very much in line with what we'll be talking about today. Cheng Wei said that people nowadays have the attention span of a goldfish. I think that's been very optimistic, okay? Look, we all talk about millennials and all this kind of stuff, right? And the point is this, people do have a shorter attention span, right? People are much more visual today than they ever have been. And these are all things that impact doing research in Vietnam. So what I'm going to be talking about is how we actually compare and maximize our different data collection methods. Now, data collection is a pretty unsexy topic, to be honest with you. But let me tell you something. If the information you collect is wrong, doesn't matter how good of a data scientist, analyst you are, it's wrong, okay? And this is the crux of my talk today. So, I want to start off by, you won't see a lot of numbers from me today, yay! All right, but I want to start off by, if we look at data collection methods, so electronic data collection, right? So that's online, mobile, even what Google Analytics does, so on and so forth. So we're looking at 44% is online of that 18 billion, all right? In Vietnam, it's 10%, okay? So my question is, why? Why have we been so slow to react? And when I set up Infocus 3 years ago, I thought, okay, mobile penetration is growing rapidly, so on and so forth. But what I've come across is the following, gee, I don't want to change because it's more work, I have to learn stuff, right? And also, oh my God, my data norms, which are actually incorrect today, I can't correct because I'll lose my KPI bonus, right? So there's a lot of resistance in the market, and a lot of it is just because of a lack of knowledge, all right? Number two, we've forgotten how fast digital has grown in Vietnam. Now, Richard can attest to this. I think 5 years ago, digital advertising spend was like $3 to $5 million. It's now reaching the $200 billion, if not $300 billion range. Take a look, smartphone is almost the exact same as TV in terms of penetration, okay? PC is much lower, tablet is much lower. My wife, a lovely Vietnamese lady who I've had the pleasure of being with for 17, 18 years, she has 2 businesses and doesn't own a laptop. She has 3 smartphones. She does everything off her phone, all right? I had to join Facebook just so I could talk to her. So that's basically what's happening nowadays. Now, I talked about this before. So what we have here, media consumption, 51% today is a TV, 43% is mobile, all right? However, look at the spend, 75% on TV. Why is that? There was the former JWT boss, Chris, I interviewed him. He said the problem is, Ralph, that the reason the spend is so inverse is because all the people in decision-making positions are still trying to figure out how their smartphone works, right? All the people who have the knowledge are too low on the echelon to make a difference. Now, remember the number, the key number, right? 44% globally is digital, electronic, and in Vietnam it's 10%, right? So we know it's going to change. Now, another reason is that a lot of people have had bad experiences, okay? So, you use a lot of panel providers, okay? And you don't know, who are you actually talking to, right? We just don't know. Is the response true, or are people just clicking buttons, all right? And they can never guarantee you, can they actually meet your sample, and how fast can they do it? So these are major issues that are facing us, okay? And then finally, nobody really knows what questions to ask. How do you judge? How do you actually understand who a good provider is and who is not? So there's a lot of confusion. Now, what I've decided to do, I've decided to take a look at this from 3 perspectives. The first perspective, marketers, i.e. people who buy the information. The second one is researchers. And the third one is, oh my God, consumers. So, first of all, hand up, how many people here are from the marketing side of the business? So, client facing? 3? 4? Oh, really, that's it? Okay, so there's a section for you. How many are from the research side? Joy, I'm not going to sell anything here today. And then finally, how many of you are consumers? Now, when we go through this, just remember that there are at least 2 parts to play, okay? So, let's talk about marketer concerns, and we're talking about data collection, right? So, whoops. All right, first of all, trust and knowledge. Look, to be fair, I know, I've been trying to do this for 3 years. People just don't have the knowledge nor the trust in new technology, new methodology. You know, and let me ask you, what's the first thing you do every morning when you wake up, besides go to the bathroom? You get to your mobile phone and you turn off your alarm, right? What's the last thing you do before you go to bed? You usually look at your emails or turn on your alarm. This thing is pervasive, it's with you all the time. Why not communicate with someone on a device that they have all the time? Number 3, data integrity. Look, I would just simply say that, and you've heard this before, no methodology is perfect. They each have their own nuances, their own problems. You know, you can't deny that with any methodology. A good example is when we set up Kantar Media back in 1999. So we brought in people meters, okay? And the people meter sits on top of the TV. Now, if you're in America, the first thing you do when you walk into the house, turn on the lights, turn on the TV. Then you go to the kitchen, make yourself a sandwich, have a shower, take a bath. The TV shows that it's on, but you're not watching, all right? Then they came up with the personal people meter. I love that, beep. So this was a device like a pager, which sat on your belt, if you wore a belt, all right? And it would recognize anytime you're within 5 meters of a TV, it would go beep. Now, you happen to be sitting at a bar, the TV's over here, and you're talking to your friend, you're watching TV. So the point is, no methodology is perfect. They each have their nuances, okay? Now, let's talk about sampling and recruitment. Pretty critical, all right? Now, if we look at the 3 methodologies here, so if you haven't figured it out yet, that's mobile, that's face-to-face, that's online. All right? Now, face-to-face is actually really good for city-specific, age-specific, so on and so forth. Where it really falls down is income, okay? And let me explain. And I'm sorry for all you traditional guys out here, and even ESOMAR, the SEC levels that you're getting today in Vietnam are rubbish, all right? I see things like an ASEC is 1.5 or $15 billion household a month. Bullshit. Minimum wage in Vietnam is $4 billion. Minimum wage. So, if you have 2 people living in a household, minimum wage is $8 million. But why are we doing this? Because we're cheating the system because we can't access wealthy people anymore. Why is that? Where do they live? The Manor, Estella, all these places. Have you ever seen an interviewer go to hello, I'm from a research company, can you come down and I can interview you? They won't even get into the building. So we're missing all those high-enders. So that's a huge issue for face-to-face. For mobile, the big issue today is rural, all right? We're not at that stage yet, where we can really generate a lot of high samples in rural. Another one is older, right? I mean, our panel goes up to 70 years old, all right? But put it this way, 12% are over 55 years old. That's not very much, all right? But typically, who are people interviewing? 20 to 45, all right? Now, if we talk about recruitment, all right, again, recruitment, I think, is probably one of the best is face-to-face, okay? But we know there's a lot of cheating going on, okay? Perfect example, you walk up with your tablet and go, ding dong, hi, can you say you drink Heineken? Great. Turn on the thing and say, hi, do you read a beer? Yes, I do. Do you drink Heineken? Oh, yes, I do. Survey, all right? This is something that's very hard to control, all right? But it's a reality, all right? With a good online panel, you should actually know exactly who the consumer is. So you should have 10 to 12 to 20 data points. Then you still have to screen for brand and things like that. Speed and cost. The best method for cost is an online panel, okay, by far. I mean, the prices are incredibly cheap, okay? However, it comes at the peril of two things. One, is it actually the respondent? Two, how many can you get, okay? In terms of mobile, remember, if you have all the data already of who these people are, you reduce your average questionnaire by about 10 minutes because you don't have all the pre-screening, okay? If you've ever surveyed someone across the table, it takes a lot longer. When you're doing self-administered, you save about 20% of your time. So there's always this thing like, oh, mobile is only good for 5 minutes. No. If you pay the people well, they'll speak to you longer, all right? But let's be realistic. You should never have a survey over 20 minutes anyway. Otherwise, you're shooting yourself in the foot. Because you know, what's the Group M survey? The one that's 3 days long. You remember that one? What's it? 3D, all right? It's 3.5 hours long. Now, okay, they split it up in whatever else, but seriously, you think people go, after a while, yes, 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 yes. So you're better off doing several surveys than trying to do all this at once, okay? Now, that's from a marketer's concern. From a researcher, which most of us are, all right? Quality control, okay? Look, face-to-face on average, you do 10% to 20% actually recontact, right, roughly? Okay, fine. Now, with mobile, you don't pay the incentive until you've done the quality control. So, you cancel, you lose nothing. Face-to-face, oh my God, I've just given away the incentive, I've just lost that money, so there's less of a desire to cancel an interview, all right? And I think another part of this is, historically, if you look at online panels, they say, okay, we'll give you 25 points. Once you reach 1,000 points, you can lollipop, okay? We figured out something that's very simple for Vietnam. People like immediacy. If I do something, pay me. So, through the mobile panel, we've made a deal with every mobile service provider in Vietnam. So once we do the QC, boom, we top up their mobile phone. 50,000, 100,000, whatever the case may be. So they see that, hey, if I answer honestly and openly, I get paid, yeah? Respondent access and reconnectivity. Now here's a major difference. If we want to recollect people, 85% is how we can collect. 85% we can recollect. We have an example where a client forgot a major question. So we went back and we had 90% of the guys actually answer a few questions that were missing. And access to respondents. Face-to-face, they knock on your door. When? From 8 to 6? Where's the consumer from 8 to 6? At home? Who are we talking to? The nanny? Ah, so you start to wonder, is the information you're collecting correct? All right? You're actually almost better to do street intercepts because you'll get a better landslide landscape of the population, okay? So the point is that access, when you're doing your smartphone, by the way, this is all SMS driven, all right? If we send out an invite by SMS, we get 30% response rate within the first 24 hours. If we do it by email, it's 12%. Vietnamese don't give a crap about emails anymore. I think I'm the only one that still uses email. SMS is the way to go. So it needs to be mobile enabled. Now, if you don't have Wi-Fi, you still get your SMS, you know you're gonna get a survey, and then you go to a coffee shop or home or whatever else to do the survey. So, now, I'm almost done here. And then questionnaire length. Look, to be fair, no survey should be over 20 minutes long, all right, to be fair. Because when we do this, we actually send the client the questionnaire on their mobile, and they have to fill it out. And then they realize, oh my God, this is a shit questionnaire. Yeah. So by actually making the client do the questionnaire, they see how difficult or how simple or how long it is. It starts to change their mind, their behavior. And this is where behavioral science comes in. The biggest thing that we have forgotten in the last 20 years in research is the consumer. I think Richard noted before. I won't say the client, but a bar of soap with 27 attributes. Gee, why do you buy a bar of soap? Efficacy, price, promotion, availability, maybe one or two others. Scent. 27? How are you going to use that? And does the consumer think that way? And what happens is, you have 27 things, guess what? All your choices are watered down. So you wind up with a bunch of mishmash that's no use to anybody. So the whole thing about things like mobile and speed to market and all this kind of thing, start thinking like the consumer. So it's the predictability of, hey, if I'm the consumer buying a bar of soap, what is my thought process before buying that? So you actually have to predict this a little bit to make it easier. Okay? Now, sample sizes, I would just simply say that, as you know, the average interview in Vietnam costs between $12 and $16 just for the interview. So you have a limitation. You're not going to do $3,000, $4,000 because it's so expensive. All right. The average for an online panel is like $4 or $5. The average for mobile is like $6, $7. So you can see there's just much more capability. Now, finally, on respondents' concerns. Okay, incentivization. Face-to-face, what happens? You spend 45 minutes with an interviewer and he gives you a pen. Are you kidding me? Why would I do this for a pen? Okay? Or a bottle of shampoo, all right? Online gives you points. So it's, gee, what's my incentive to do this? With the mobile, we actually provide either QR code coupons or mobile top-up. The average Vietnamese spends about $200,000 on their phone bill a month. So if we can start paying their phone bill, that's something they would like, right? Convenience, I think, is pretty obvious, right? You have to be in front of your laptop to do online, email-based, right? Well, length of questionnaire I talked about already. So, last few words. This is my scorecard, all right? I think the biggest thing today is marketers just need to better understand the advantages and disadvantages. Some things, face-to-face is by far better. If you want genuine incidents, let's say if we're talking about shampoo or detergent, you should use face-to-face. Why? Because it can capture everybody. If you're doing anything that's digital, why are you doing face-to-face? For what? Right? Because you want to talk to digital users, right? Now, in terms of the positives, mobile speed, recruitment, respondent reconnectivity, convenience, high net worth respondents, nationwide surveys. The beautiful thing is, in the past, when we did rural Vietnam, we would select one village in the Mekong Delta to represent the entire Mekong Delta. Why? Because of cost, right, and timing. We can do an entire region and make that representative of the Mekong Delta, right? So that's the difference. In terms of face-to-face, comfortability, we know the methodology, we know how it works. Questionnaire length, sample representation, low income earners, right? And specific city location. For online costs, Jetpop, questionnaire length, convenience. On a negative, again, mobile is new, so people still don't fully understand it. We still have issues with older and rural respondents, okay? And it's not ideal for incidents for certain categories. Face-to-face, cost and speed. And I think someone said before, maybe it was Richard, speed to market is becoming so important, but yet people are not taking advantage of it, all right? So I will leave you with this. Here's some tips, all right? So when you talk to a panel company, ask them how they recruit. What is their recruitment process? Do they have a screening process? Do they do data matching? Things like that. How many panels are active? An active panelist is someone who has responded at least in the last 3 to 6 months. All right? Now, people will tell you, I have a panel of 500,000 people in Vietnam. Okay? Just ask a very simple question. What is your response rate in the first 24 hours? And it's typically 1%. So their panel is 50%. But they don't know really who the panelists are. All right? Panel size. Now, again, you can actually say, I want to speak to these people, here are the demographics. A good panel should be able to tell you, we can provide you exactly this many people. A bad panel, they'll go the best effort basis. Okay? Payment method. How are the interviewers, how are the respondents paid? Okay? And then finally, about the QC mechanisms. All right? So, in a nutshell, we are in an age where speed counts, where understanding the consumer really counts, where consumers have less and less attention span, right? So one of the solutions is to start to engage with mobile, okay? Because mobile is here to stay, right? I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon. So on that one, if anybody has any questions, happy to answer. If not, thank you.